Salvete omnes. This video is the first in a series of teaching videos called Rome Wasn't Learned in a Day. The aim of these videos is to introduce new players and refresh older players on the rules of the Republic of Rome board game, Valley Games edition of the 1.06 Alpha Living Rules set. This first video is an overview of the Republic of Rome and will give players the foundation knowledge to then explore the more detailed facets of the rulebook. So what is the Republic of Rome? The Republic of Rome is an ancient Roman political simulation showcasing 250 years of history. Originally produced by Avalon Hill, it was revised and re-released by Valley Games in 2009. In this game, players control a faction of senators within the ancient Roman Senate. This is not like your typical strategy game, however. It is more akin to your bluffing style game and is predominantly based on cards. There are no armies to move through a battlefield terrain as such. The board itself is mostly a large reference sheet with statistical information. There are also role-play style elements to this game, and the enjoyment really becomes apparent when players take on these roles in full. The game is considered inherently complex, many finite rules listed by line item. We're thankful that rules have constantly been revised and verified thanks to a set of living rules, which are constantly being updated, led by Mr. Alan Richborough. Websites like BoardGameGeek.com have provided a wealth of information, guides, tips and cheat sheets to aid new players. Now, game duration can take some time, particularly with new players. Proficient players can knock out a single game of an era in about 3 to 5 hours. The most advanced players have been seen to achieve timely finishes in the World Board Gaming Championships. Games that I have hosted often tend to last a little longer, as I encourage players to step into the role-play elements, making speeches, holding full trials. I encourage a break during the Senate for the newly elected consuls to deeply consider the proposals they will put forward for the coming year. The details and political intrigue can also add to the time when players take pause to hold secret meetings and discuss political plots behind one another's back, making backroom deals amongst each other to ultimately control the outcome of the Senate vote. So, what is the player's objective in the Republic of Rome? The Republic of Rome is a semi-cooperative game, meaning players have to both work together to summon a common goal, but they are also competing against each other, trying to be the most dominant. The primary goal is to collectively work together and keep Rome thriving, fend off an ever-constant line of wars, keep the treasury positive, and keep the unrest level of the populace low. With Rome thriving, each player is seeking to elevate one or more of their senators to be the ultimate ruler of Rome, as consul for life by gaining influence and popularity through the game. Players can also take a radical path and claim victory by defeating Rome as a rebel. There are 3 periods of time or historical eras that players can play through: the early, middle, and late Republic eras. Players can start from any one of these eras or start at the beginning and play through all 3 in a grand campaign. A game constitutes a series of turns that all players step through simultaneously. A single era can have anywhere from 7 turns and upward. An era will last on average approximately 10 turns. These series of turns will each have 7 phases. These roughly equate to a single year in Rome, although the progression of wars in the game would otherwise suggest periods of decades. The 7 phases each have different activities, the keystone of which is the Senate phase. The Senate phase is where the main action happens, and players will role-play the elected positions that the senators hold, and where the presiding magistrate will make proposals for the Senate to vote upon. The 7 phases in order are the mortality phase, the revenue phase, the forum phase, the population phase, the Senate phase, the combat phase, and finally the revolution phase. Now let's explore, one of the critical elements of the game, the senator cards. And they are at the heart of it all, representing individual senatorial families of the time. Players will start with a set number to make up their faction at the beginning of the game. This number could grow or reduce depending on certain outcomes. Special senator cards exist with red text called statesmen. These are special named senators that can be played at certain times when received in-game, which will sit upon the associated family card if owned by the same player playing the statesman. Statesmen also have various special abilities that can provide advantages in-game. Be sure to read these. Senators also have a unique ID number, which becomes important when drawing mortality chits. If you draw a death chit with the same number as a senator in play, it means he is either killed or captured depending on the circumstance. Senators with square brackets around their ID number mean that they have a complementary statesman that could be played on their card. Each senator card has a space for various stats, including the senator's influence level, popularity level, and the number of knights, or the financial backers they have. It also includes the fixed characteristics of the senator, which are the military rating, the oratory rating, and the loyalty rating. Senator cards become quite busy, as they will also usually hold the personal treasury of the senator and display the token of any office they're elected to, amongst a whole plethora of other minor tokens. Now of these, let's talk about the most critical card value in detail: influence. The senator with the highest influence at the end of an era or a full grand campaign wins the game for the controlling player. Upon reaching 21 influence, a senator in Rome can be nominated for consul for life. If the Senate vote passes, then the senator wins the game for the controlling player. Be aware that even though the faction of the consul for life nominee may not appear to have the majority vote, the nominee gets to add his influence total as an additional number of votes. When a senator reaches 35 influence, then they are automatically appointed consul for life. Assuming Rome survives until the end of the turn, the controlling player wins the game. Influence is also handy if you have a senator on trial. The accused senator gets votes equal to his influence when it comes time for his faction to vote. Finally, influence is very useful in trying to grow your faction. Relying on a senator with considerable influence can give you a greater probability of attracting a senator to your faction during a persuasion attempt. Influence is important then, and it can be gained and lost in many ways. Influence is primarily gained through being elected into office. The greater the office, the more influence your senator accumulates. Senators will retain that influence they earned from the election to the office once they conclude their tenure, with the exception of the Pontifex Maximus and other minor priest positions. In political trials run by the censor position, senators can gain influence by being a successful prosecutor or advocate. Now, it makes sense then that a senator can lose influence by being on the losing side of a trial as a prosecutor or advocate. Those senators actually on trial for minor prosecutions will also lose influence if convicted. Senators have an opportunity to gain influence by contributing to the state treasury from their own personal funds, as well as successfully developing a province as a governor. Now let's discuss popularity. Popularity has two key uses, and unlike influence, which can't go below 0, popularity can range from -9 to +9. Most importantly, popularity is used by the Rome consul in the population phase during the State of the Republic address. The population rating of the current serving Rome consul helps to determine whether the unrest level of the Roman population increases or decreases. A low or negative popularity increases the likelihood that the citizenry will become unhappy and the unrest level will rise. Popularity is also handy for a senator on trial. When it comes time for the faction of an accused senator to vote, the senator may elect to appeal to the public to sway the final vote. high popularity increases the chances of a number of votes going against the conviction. So how is popularity gained? Popularity can be gained by obtaining victory as a commander in battle, hosting games during the forum phase, and sponsoring land bills. Popularity is lost when convicted of a minor prosecution, losing legions in battle, or voting for the repeal of a land bill. Let's explore knights. Knights are able to be acquired during the forum phase with or without bribes. Knights not only grant a senator additional income during the revenue phase, but also provide one additional vote per knight. A knight is acquired for free when rolling a 6, so players should always seek to roll for a knight. Now let's explore the fixed characteristics, starting with military rating. The military rating determines a senator's skill in leading a Roman army. The higher the rating, the more chances they get at obtaining victory in the combat phase. Each additional point of military rating is one extra towards the strength difference against any enemy war. Oratory rating primarily determines the number of votes that a senator contributes to your faction. Oratory is also handy when acting as a prosecutor or an advocate in trials. A good combination of knights and a collective oratory rating of all of your senators will give your faction an edge in voting superiority in the Senate. The loyalty rating of a senator is a bit like the defensive statistic to protect against opposing persuasion attempts on that senator. The lower the loyalty rating, the harder it will be to defend against a persuasion attempt. Now, some statesmen have conditional loyalty ratings, where they will receive a 0 loyalty rating if placed in the same faction as a statesman they oppose. In the example seen here, if Cato also joins the same faction, then both statesmen will have 0 loyalty. There is nothing stopping a player having opposing senators in the same faction, it will just make them more susceptible to persuasion attempts. Talents are the currency in the game, and like ancient Rome, they certainly make the world go round. Talents are earned and traded during the revenue phase. Talents can come from a senator's base income, supplemented by knights, from the concessions they hold, and from provincial income as a governor. Players will be able to move talents amongst the personal treasuries of all senators of their own, and what is called the faction treasury. Now, talents from a faction treasury are used to defend a senator against persuasion attempts and for paying for maintenance on rebel troops should you have a senator who has rebelled. A single personal treasury of a senator is used for everything else. This includes attracting knights, donating to the state, sponsoring games, and it's used to increase your odds in offensive persuasion attempts. Talents can even buy you more votes for any one particular proposal. Talents in a senator's personal treasury also act as a natural deterrent against persuasion attempts, as each talent counts against the base calculation of any attempt. Let's now explore the different cards and the types of cards that exist and what you should do with them. Now, the observant among you may have noticed two different types of cards among each of the 3 error decks. Firstly, there are the forum cards, and they have black text. These cards are always displayed publicly, face up, and when drawn from the deck, are placed in the forum. The other type of card is the faction card, and these are written in red text, and these are kept private in the player's hand and only played in certain phases. Towards the end of the revolution phase, players must ensure that they only have a maximum of 5 faction cards in their hand. Let's explore some faction cards now, and the first that we will study is the Tribune card. Now, during the Senate phase, the presiding magistrate holds all of the facilitation power and dictates the action. The presiding magistrate is the highest ranking available officer, and only they can make and send proposals to a vote. But one card that players can wield to balance the session is the use of a tribune. Got a proposal you're desperate to see heard by the Senate? You can play a tribune. Now, provided your type of proposal is congruent to the current timing in the Senate, you can pop a Tribune at nearly any time, even when there is a proposal already on the floor under vote. If you do launch a Tribune during an existing vote, you don't necessarily have to announce your intentions at the time, it just means you get to make the next proposal. If the current Senate session is about to close, or the current proposal is going to send the presiding magistrate off to war, you can suspend the closure of the Senate phase thanks to your new proposal. Even if the presiding magistrate has just announced the Senate is closed, a quick Tribune can open it back up again just to hear your new single proposal. The other power that this card has is the veto. If a vote is going to go against your view on a proposal in the Senate phase, you can play a Tribune card and veto or cancel the proposal. That proposal cannot be heard again this turn without adjustment. At any time after the presiding magistrate has called for votes, you can throw in a Tribune to veto a proposal. And you just do it before or on your faction's turn to vote. Now, you can't veto certain actions, however, such as Consul for Life, special prosecution of assassins, or any proposal by a dictator, and the appointment of any last eligible candidate for office. Another card you will encounter regularly are concession cards. Concession cards are primarily used as a way for a senator to gain additional income, but at a cost. Every time a senator takes income from a concession, they receive a minor corruption. At the relevant time, they slide the card to reveal the corrupt portion of the concession card. Once assigned, the concessions remain fixed to the senator and cannot be changed. Only a successful prosecution against the senator will remove the concession and place it in the forum to be reassigned by a Senate proposal. Some concessions can be destroyed by wars, and if destroyed, those concessions are placed in the curia but can be resurrected by a successful roll at the end of the forum phase. Now, as hinted at earlier, concessions in the forum are assigned to a senator via a vote during the Senate phase, and these proposals can be put forward by the presiding magistrate or a player with a Tribune card. Those concessions that a player holds may be played and attached to a senator of the player's choosing during the revolution phase. Another unique card you will encounter in later eras is the law card. Law cards are fundamental changes that can occur to the rules in the game once enacted. Law cards are faction cards that can be played by any player at any time in the Senate phase. Under the presiding magistrate, the Senate will vote to enact or discard the law, and if the vote fails, the law is discarded permanently. Law cards cannot voluntarily be discarded by a player holding them in the revolution phase, so they either hold on to them or they come out during that Senate phase. Beyond senator cards, tribunes, concessions, and law cards, there are numerous other faction cards called intrigue cards. An intrigue card can be played at nearly any phase, but will be determined as per the instructions on the card itself. These cards can provide specific advantages or may provide a defense against persuasion attempts or assassination attempts. Players may openly discuss or even show their intrigue cards to other players for the purposes of combined strategy or even trade. However, players may only trade the faction cards in their hand during the appropriate time in the revolution phase. In this video, we have explored the key rules concerning all the cards and how to identify them. We also considered the key objectives for players in the Republic of Rome and considered the general structure of the game. We identified that this is a semi-cooperative game and players are working together while also working in competition with each other. Players must strike the right balance and keep Rome thriving, but also seek to gain the most influence to be elected consul for life or go all out and rebel against the Senate and march on Rome. In the general overview, we learned that there are 3 historical eras that can be played, and with each identified, each have 7 phases in a turn. We stepped through senator cards in detail and learned about the importance of each of their characteristics and accumulative traits. We also went through the various other card types, how to identify forum cards from faction cards, and discuss some of the various intrigue cards including Tribune cards, concessions, and unique lore cards. Having watched this video, players now have the foundation knowledge to manage their faction of senators and are armed with the information to make decisions on the cards they hold. This video only covered a small segment of the rules, but it does provide you the basic foundation to explore other elements of the rulebook. With a facilitator, or a good cheat sheet, on the processes of the game, players are now ready to manage their own Roman Republic. We now recommend players watch the next video in this series called The Senate Phase, the keystone of the whole game. Players will learn about the various elected officers, how to be the presiding magistrate, managing assassination attempts, and holding prosecutions. This has been part of the Rome Wasn't Learned in a Day series presented by Decimus Aurelius Inganarius. If you have any feedback, please, we'd love to hear it. Send us an email at austnovaroma@outlook.com. That's AUST Novaroma@outlook.com. Gratias and valete.